New York Mayor Bill de Blasio has announced a series of measures to tackle a crisis of anti-Semitic attacks, following a mass stabbing. Mr. de Blasio said security would be stepped up in Jewish areas and schools would teach students to tackle hate. At least 5 people were injured in the knife attack, at a rabbi's house in New York State on Saturday. President Donald Trump in response to the attack called for unity to fight the scourge of anti-Semitism. Witnesses said the attacker burst into the house in Monsey, north of New York City, which was hosting a Hanukkah celebration, pulled out a large knife and began stabbing people. The suspected knifeman, named by police as Grafton Thomas, 37, of Greenwood Lake, New York, has been charged with attempted murder. What did the mayor say? Just a day before the attack, Mr. de Blasio had announced extra police patrols in 3 areas of Brooklyn with large Jewish populations following a series of anti-Semitic threats and attacks. The spirit we bring today is one of resolve and relentlessness. We will keep adding as many measures as it takes to end this crisis, he told reporters on Sunday. Mr. de Blasio said additional officers would now be deployed to the districts of Williamsburg, Crown Heights, and Borough Park. People in the community will see our officers present in front of houses of worship and out on the streets. We have to give people a sense of security, and we have to show that this horrible trend we've seen over the last weeks will be stopped dead in its tracks, he said. Mr. de Blasio said changes would be made to the curriculum at schools in Brooklyn starting from next month. He said they would focus on stopping hate, on building mutual respect, to help young people understand what hate crimes really mean and the dangers they pose to all of us. Mr. de Blasio said the tendency towards hate and acting on hate had grown with the onset of social media. We need some new standards and norms in this society for how to deal with this, he said. The social media companies try to stand apart and act like they have no culpability. That's just not true. They have to be part of the solution too. What happened? A man brandishing a machete attacked a Hanukkah celebration at the rabbi's property in Monsey, an area with a large population of ultra-Orthodox Jews. The incident happened at about 2200 hours on Saturday, 3 o'clock GMT Sunday. Rabbi Yisroel Kahan, who was in the house at the time, described the moment the attack began. He pushed his way in, slammed the door shut and said, "None of you getting out of here," something to that effect, "Nobody's leaving," and pulls out a machete and unsheathes it and starts doing the unthinkable, he said. Yossi Gestetner, a co-founder of OJHAC for the Hudson Valley region, told the New York Times that the assailant had his face partially covered by a scarf and that the rabbi's son was one of those he wounded. Aaron Cohn, 65, who was also in the house at the time, told the paper, "I was praying for my life. He started attacking people right away as soon as he came in the door. We didn't have time to react at all." What are other New York authorities saying? State Governor Andrew Cuomo described the attack as domestic terrorism. Hatred based on race, color and creed was an American cancer spreading in the body politic, the governor told a news conference on Sunday. He called for a domestic terrorism law in the state to prosecute such crimes. He described the attack as very disturbing but said it was not an isolated incident, adding that hostility based on race, religion and immigration status was spreading across the country. It is domestic terrorism. These are people who intend to create mass harm, mass violence, and generate fear based on race, color, creed. That is the definition of terrorism, he said. Mr. Cohn said that the attacker then tried to enter a synagogue next to the house, but people inside had locked the door. The man then fled in a car. His vehicle registration was passed to police and number plate scanners picked up the car as it entered New York City, where he was detained.